June 28th, 1914, a quiet morning in Europe, where empires stood proud and the world believed it was at peace. Then, a single gunshot shattered the silence. In that moment, history took a dark turn. Alliances were activated, armies mobilized, nations prepared for war. What leaders thought would be a short conflict became a catastrophe beyond imagination. Within weeks, the world was on fire. This was not just another war. This was the beginning of the Great War. This was World War I.
June 28, 1914. The morning in Sarajevo was completely ordinary. The sun rose the way it always does. Shopkeepers opened their doors. Children ran toward school. Women busied themselves with the work of the house. Men sipped their tea, read their newspapers, talked with their neighbors. There was nothing unusual about that morning. No strange sound. No sign that this day would be different from any other. Nobody knew that after this morning the world would never be the same again. Nobody could have imagined that one ordinary morning would crack the earth open and swallow everything that came before it. A bullet was fired, just one bullet, and that single bullet set the entire world on fire. But the story of that bullet is not the story of just one day, or one place, or one man. Behind that bullet were years of anger, decades of humiliation, deep wounds between nations that had never healed, old pains that had never faded, a slow burning resentment that had been growing deeper with every passing year. Everything that had been quietly filling up inside governments, inside armies, inside the hearts of proud nations, all of it came spilling out in one single moment. That bullet did not kill just one man. That bullet pushed an entire world into a war from which it never fully recovered. The world that existed before 1914 was one world. The world that came after 1914 was an entirely different one. And the distance between those two worlds was so vast, so devastating that generations since have spent their lives trying to understand it, and still do. This was the Great War, the war the world would come to call World War I. But to understand this war, you must first understand the world that existed before it. You must understand the Europe of the early 20th century, a Europe that looked beautiful on the surface. Grand palaces, lit-up streets, busy markets, opera houses, new inventions, the whistle of trains, the glow of electric lights in the night, but which on the inside had every corner stuffed with gunpowder. Like an old, magnificent house whose foundations have quietly rotted away, strong-looking on the outside but silently crumbling within. One strong gust of wind and the whole thing would come crashing down. That gust came, and everything crashed in. The early years of the 20th century, Europe was locked in a peculiar and dangerous kind of game. Every major country wanted to outrun every other. Every major country wanted the biggest army, the strongest navy, the most colonies, the most land, the most flags flying in the most places. This was a race born of fear. A race where nobody wanted to win, they just desperately did not want to lose. And because of that fear, every country kept building bigger weapons, larger armies, more powerful fleets, because nobody was willing to stop first. Nobody was willing to take a step back. Look at Germany. Under Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany was becoming a new and rising power. In 1871, Germany had defeated France, taken the regions of Alsace and Lorraine, and declared itself a powerful empire. Now it was becoming the largest industrial nation in Europe. German factories worked day and night. Iron, steel, weapons. German engineers were famous around the world. The German army was known for its discipline and precision. But despite all of this, Germany had not received the one thing it wanted most: the respect, the recognition, the place at the top table that Britain and France enjoyed. Germany felt that the world was not giving it the status it deserved. This feeling, this sense of being powerful yet somehow overlooked, sat in the national heart like a wound that deepened with every passing year. Look at Britain. The sun never sets on the British Empire, Britain, nearly a quarter of the entire world's land flew the Union Jack. From India to Africa, From Australia to Canada, from the Caribbean to the South Pacific, Britain ruled. The Royal Navy was the most powerful naval force in the world. A British man was respected anywhere on earth simply for being British. But beneath all of this, there was a deep fear. Fear of Germany's growing naval power. Germany was building new battleships, strengthening its fleet, and Britain began to feel that if this continued unchecked, its own centuries-old supremacy could be threatened. Fear and power living together in the same room create a very dangerous combination. Look at France. The humiliation of the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 sat in the French chest like a slow-working poison. The loss of Alsace and Lorraine, territories, France considered its own, where French people lived, where the French language was spoken, was a wound no generation could forget. Children were shown maps of the lost provinces in school. Men spoke of it in the squares. France wanted revenge. France wanted its dignity back. France was always a country on the edge, ready at any moment for another confrontation with Germany. Look at Russia. Vast, powerful, but rotting from within. Tsar Nicholas II was on the throne, a man who might have been a decent husband and father in a simpler life, but who was utterly unable to manage the world's largest and most complex empire. He could not make decisions. He froze in crisis. He was under the influence of his wife Alexandra, who was herself under the influence of the mysterious mystic Rasputin. Russia saw itself as the protector of all Slavic peoples. Serbia, Bulgaria, and others looked to Russia as younger brothers looked to an older one. Russia liked this role, but inside, Russia itself was falling apart. Hungry people, angry workers, a revolution quietly gathering beneath the surface. All of these powers were playing a game in which nobody was alone. Every country had agreements with others, treaties signed, secret deals in place. This was the alliance system, and it was the most dangerous system in the world because it meant that if any one country got into trouble, all the others would get dragged in with it. It was a chain reaction waiting to be triggered. The Triple Alliance stood on one side, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. If any one of them was attacked, the others would stand with them. The Triple Entente stood on the other side, Britain, France, and Russia. They too were bound to each other. Europe had become a chessboard on which the pieces on both sides stared each other down. One move and every piece on the board would shift. All that was needed was a spark, and Europe was never short of sparks. That spark came from Sarajevo, Gavrilo Princip. That name will always live in the history books, remembered for a bullet that changed everything. He was a young man, 19 years old. A Bosnian Serb. He was consumed by the idea of Pan-Slavism, the belief that all Slavic peoples should unite, free themselves from the grip of Austria-Hungary, and live on their own terms. He was a member of Mlada Bosna, Young Bosnia, a revolutionary group opposed to Austrian rule. He wanted Bosnia to be united with Serbia. He wanted freedom. He lived for a cause, and he was ready to die for it. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, the empire's future emperor, came to Sarajevo. He was there with his wife Sophie. It was an official visit. He had come to observe military maneuvers in Bosnia, to do an official tour of the city. He rode through the streets in an open car, waving at people, smiling. A royal visit. Nobody knew that death had also arrived in the city that day. Gavrilo and his associates had planned it in advance. They wanted to kill the Archduke. Some of them had already tried and failed. One threw a grenade that bounced off Franz Ferdinand's car and exploded under a different vehicle, injuring several people. Gavrilo believed the plan had fallen apart. He stood outside a delicatessen, defeated, deflated, and then fate took a strange and terrible turn. Franz Ferdinand's car made a wrong turn. The driver did not know the correct route. The car slowed, right in front of where Gavrilo was standing. Just a few feet away, Gavrilo raised his pistol. 2 shots were fired. One struck Franz Ferdinand in the neck. One struck Sophie in the abdomen.